welcome back to my podcast, Filmmaking, Actually. Ta-da! This is part 2 of recapping our Easterseals Disability Film Challenge film, The List. If you missed part 1, you're going to want to check that out because that is where I talked about all of the development and the planning and the pre-production. If you haven't watched the film, you're going to want to do that too because I'm going to spoil the bejeepers out of this film. So make sure you've watched it. It is linked in either the caption or the comments or the little episode description, depending on what platform you're listening to this on. And yeah, so we wake up April 2nd, first day of actual filming. We drive to the location. It's about 30 minutes. Oh, I forgot. March 31st, as part of our prep, we also needed to get like food. So we had a meal budget, but people were going to be staying in the house. We don't need to like buy breakfast every day. We can just buy groceries. So Spacey and I stopped and we picked up a bunch of snacks. As part of our prep, we survey our cast and crew to ask them for any allergies or dietary preferences so that we're able to accommodate. So it meant that our fridge had like regular milk, oat milk, almond milk. We had like sugar-free items and regular items and gluten-free items and regular bread items. Anyway, so it was really cool. We were able to set that up for everybody. So breakfast was all taken care of for the whole week. And then we had all of the craft services snacks purchased as well, which also fit a range of dietary requirements and allergy accommodations, which, I don't know. It's so easy to do. I think it should just be the normal way everything is done. Moving on. We're now morning of April 2nd. We go back to the location. It's about 30 minutes from where we were staying. We get there, we get set up, we get everybody in wardrobe. We have a little bit of a challenge trying to figure out the final lighting setup for it because there was a very particular lighting design that I wanted as far as how I wanted the characters to look. I didn't want this to be like, oh, this is lit so beautifully. It's a suspense film. Like it's dark. It's scary. It's a little creepy. Like I wanted it to feel like that as far as how the cinematography played, how the lighting played. So we went back and forth with that. I always think lighting takes way too long to set up, but as I was one of the gaffers, I can blame no one but myself. I was just having a hard time getting the camera and the lens and the light to cooperate in the way that was in my brain. It just was not transferring. And I took a photo on my phone and I was like, I just want it to look like this. And I just adjusted some of the settings for the photo. I'm sure there's some like bougie and or snobby cinematographers out there who are going to be like, oh my God, you couldn't just like do it with the camera. No, I couldn't. Okay. For some reason, it just was not working. And no matter what I did, what I changed, it just was not reading the same way it read on the cell phone. We all know how cameras and lenses work. For some reason, the camera sensor on the cell phone and the lens of the cell phone was giving me what I wanted. So what that meant was I ended up filming it on my cell phone. And I was very happy with it. I mean, we're able to film in 4K, Ultra HD, etc. It's a 2025 cell phone. It's not like a Nokia brick from 2002 or whatever. But we finally got that all figured out, and then we were ready to start rolling. So once we were all set up to shoot, we knew we had to shoot it not like completely out of order, but there were some things that had to be shot in a certain way because, if we're shooting behind their back and we're moving the light to be able to see their hands, and then we're going to be resetting to show them in a wide, and then we have to show their hands again, or we have to show something else, we can't keep moving the lights back and forth. So anyone who's planned to shoot knows you set up for a shot, you shoot everything that's covered in that area of the shot, then you move the lights, then you shoot the next area, and you shoot everything that's covered in that type of shot. I'm being a little bit generic because this podcast is for beginner filmmakers. So we had to kind of like scramble the opening of the script so that we could film all the different pieces without moving the lights back and forth. And so things would be continuous as far as how they looked, wide shot to wide shot, close up to close up, etc. So we were able to get everything shot. There were 3 of us who ended up doing camera, which was really awesome. There was myself and then my husband Spacey for the first part of it. And then Chris actually ended up doing camera for the second half. And we got some really great coverage. One of the props that was the clock, we ended up using that as the item that they break to escape their binds. Like they needed a piece of broken glass. So they break the clock. We actually thought that the clock was plastic and we thought we were going to have to like fake it breaking. And I was all ready to like, get scissors or whatever, like kind of like stage this fake break, but it was actually glass. So thankfully everybody was, we were a safe distance from it anyway when it broke, but we got a really cool shot of his foot just going right through the clock as it shattered. So that was pretty fantastic. So one of the things that I know is people are probably like, whoa, that's not safe. What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. We had like minutes to do things that should have taken several weeks. Everything that happened between like the launch on April 1st to when we got picture up on April 2nd, it was done in like 24 hours. It should have been done in 2 or 3 weeks. So all of the things like just figuring out what prop we're going to use, how it's going to work, how the design's going to go, how the shots are going to go, how we're going to stage all of this, all of those things would normally be done over a much longer time period. For this, we crunched it into 24 hours. We got all the shots wrapped. We were really excited. It looked great. Went back to where we were staying, and Stevie and Dan, the 2 lead actors, and myself then woke up at 6:30 in the morning so that we could catch sunrise for the final shots, because we wanted the idea to be that the movie took place at night, and when they escaped, spoiler alert, I told you to watch the movie, when they escape, it is daytime, sunrise specifically. So we got those shots, and then we went back to sleep because that was god-awful early in the morning. And we then went to film the rest of the film later in the day. Now, in the middle of all this, I had sent the photographs that we'd taken on day 1 to the printer to print, figuring we'd pick them up either by the end of the day on the first day of filming, April 2nd, or they'd be ready in the morning. We kept getting notifications that the print was delayed. I probably should have jumped on that like so much faster, but it just was delayed. And I was like, okay, so it's delayed. Like, I understand it's a huge order. It was 150 photos. I was like, they're probably just taking a while. Nope. Never assume anything. Never assume anything. As a result, the next day we find out the order is canceled, and they don't know why it's canceled, and they don't know how to fix it. And also their printer is broken. So that was fun. Also fun, every other printer within like a 20-mile radius was also broken. And we went to Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, every place we could think of with like an instant print option. They were literally all broken. And poor Spaceship was driving around for hours, going place to place to place, trying to find a place that was open and worked. We finally ended up just calling different places, found one where they're like, yeah, our printer works. Spacey gets there, starts printing the photos, and halfway through the print job, it breaks. Turned out it wasn't broken, it was just out of paper, but that meant finding someone who knew where the paper was to replace it and who knew how to work the machine to get the paper replaced, getting them to go get the paper, getting them to replace it, and getting the machine working again so that we could finish printing our 150 photos. I should also add that as part of the prep, before we actually did the final lock on everything, you are allowed to use pre-existing photos of yourself. What we did was reached out to friends, family, anyone who we knew who lived with disabilities or was an ally of the disabled community, and we asked if they'd be cool with them using photos of them on this wall that we were making. So we used a bunch of archival photos, which also meant me like deep diving on my friend's Facebook looking for photos that looked like maybe a stalker could have taken them, and then just reaching out to people. We also had to get a release form from everybody who sent us a photo, so that was a lot. And that all happened during like the last couple of days before the Easterseals launched, which, as a note, was when I was at the Gasparilla Film Festival with our other film screening. We also had a TV interview with a Tampa Bay local cable channel during that time. They were really cool. They covered the heist from last year, and they did an interview about the list for this year so that we could release that as part of our awareness campaign for this year's challenge. So in the middle of doing all that, I was also getting the photos. So yeah. Fast forward, finally have the photos in our hand, and it is about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. Yeah, that was not good. We have the murder wall space almost set up. The kitchen's been set dressed. Everything's ready. We're just waiting on the photos. We get the photos, and when I tell you that Stevie and I have never worked so fast in our life getting that wall set up. Oh, we also needed newspaper articles and magazine articles and things to intersperse with the photos. We wanted it to look like sort of a conspiracy theory wall. I was going to do those, but ended up having to handle the broken printers and the missing photos and the delays and everything. So our amazing marketing and PR intern, who's also a graphic designer, jumped in to help, and she generated a whole bunch. I did a couple of them, and then once she had the hang of it, she just took off like a shot. And we got a bunch of articles put together that we were able to pepper on the wall. We got those printed ourselves just on like regular paper. Once we got the photos, we were able to put those out. So we got the whole thing dressed. There also is a very teeny tiny little fight sequence in the middle, I guess, end of the movie. It's a couple of seconds long, but it's a little complicated. You know, he lunges at her, she dodges, she kind of flips the shirt, the blue shirt prop back at him. He jumps away from that. He stabs her. She falls. Like, it's a whole thing. We choreographed all of that, and then they were rehearsing all of that. Thankfully, at least that was something while we were trying to work out what was happening with the photos. We got everything set up, and then finally we were able to film the rest of the movie. Some of the challenges as far as the cinematography goes, we were working with a mirror, so we had to be careful where we put camera. There was a mirror in both of the main scenes. So in the room that they were being held in, the basement space, there's a mirror. And then on the like murder wall behind the paper is a mirror. So there's rips in the paper and you can see the mirror. We also had to work with the stunts. We had to work with limited space as far as what we could show, because we didn't set dress the entire apartment. We set dressed like the kitchen and a corner. So we were a little limited in our range of camera angles. And we were limited in what we could do with the lights because we only had so much space to show on screen. We didn't have places where we could put lights because we could only show certain angles. So we could only put lights outside of those angles. So it was fun. It was genuinely fun. So post-production, the first thing we did was go to sleep because you just heard everything I just went through. I was beyond exhausted. My brain was not functioning. This was not a good look for me. Got some sleep. We'd been uploading the footage, dumping it from both the phone and the camera. We did use a B cam that we were able to get set. I wanted 2 cameras, so we ended up using the phone and the camera as the 2 angles. We started assembling, and let me tell you something. I've talked about this at length, and I don't know why I didn't believe myself. I say it all the time. Page count does not equal runtime. They are 2 completely disrelated pieces of information. When I tell you that page count and runtime have nothing to do with each other, the color butterscotch has nothing to do with the stock market. They have nothing to do with each other. I thought maybe I was wrong, and maybe everyone else is right, and I should just not believe myself and go off the script. And if I just write a super short script, 5 pages, it's going to be about 5 minutes. I mean, there's like no dialogue. We started assembling it, and Sarah and I, Sarah was also editing it with me. We were like, this is like a 20-minute movie. If you don't know, the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge limits your runtime at 5 minutes. They actually encourage you to stop at about 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Can you imagine making an entire movie, an entire suspense film? I mean, obviously, 100 and something people did it. But I thought our short little script, nope. So what I did is we went ahead and assembled it, just got it all on the timeline, laid it all out. We're just like, let's just see what we have and then we'll cut it. We can cut it down. You can't edit what you don't have. So let's just get it there. Plus, then we would have at least a sort of string out that we could use for festival cuts where some of the shots I liked were already there, etc. So while we were doing this, we were at our little rental in the middle of nowhere. I will say that the host was very nice. They let us film the final scene there so we could use the backyard. And we got a little opening shot that we're going to put in the festival cut as well. That's really awesome. But there was no Wi-Fi. If ants were carrying each byte of information one by one, like the ants go marching, that would be faster speed than the internet speed that we had. So what did that mean? Well, we have an online sound library that we use for things like sound design. No, can't access that. Music, score, checking out online. Nope, can't access that. The captions that were made in Canva because we were animating our captions, we did a really cool thing. Hopefully you've seen the movie, so you know what we're talking about. Nope, can't download those. Can't transfer files between computers. Nope. So when we first got there, the internet was just out and then it came back. So I, again, was like, well, this problem is probably going to resolve, so it's okay. Never will I ever again think that line of thought. We worked as far as we could get. I stayed up most of the night, unfortunately. I got a couple hours of sleep. And then the next day, where are we? It's a little bit of a blur. The 4th and the 5th kind of meld together. It is now the 6th. We have about 70% of the film picture locked. We have the captions done, but they're online on another file that we can't access because we can't download them. We don't have sound. We don't have color. We don't have score. And it is like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and the file is due, submitted, fully exported by 9 p.m. Yeah. Again, Chris and Mariah, huge thank you. We were able to go back to their home and take over their living room where we set up our full post-production, all of our computers on their Wi-Fi. Oh, and we didn't have cell signal, so we couldn't use hotspots either. Any sort of data relayance communication at all was the Wi-Fi. In the middle of the woods, literally, we had to drive through like 5 minutes of cows to get to the house. A beautiful, amazing spot. Really, really, really bad for anything internet-based. I've never edited so quickly in my entire life. Well, actually, that's not true. I've done 48-hour film projects. I'm glad we've done those because we flew through that. We got the rest of it edited, and then we went through and just chopped everything within an inch of its life. It took out some of the suspense. It meant that we lost a bunch of the opening. We had to condense the whole opening scene, which was only a page, but on screen, it's like 5 minutes. So we condensed it all into like one sort of moment, put it all together, figured out the color so that we could grade the cell phone footage and the camera footage so that it blended, got all the captions downloaded, got all the captions put in, rushed, designed sound, just fully rushing through. Spacey's on another computer, just like downloading sounds. I just gave him a list of the sounds we needed, and he was just downloading them. Sarah had made the captions. We got it all put together. Thankfully, within an inch of our life, with a huge extra thank you to Mr. Nick Novicki for holding space for people with disabilities and all of the randomness of life that comes with, we were able to get our film submitted. It was a lot. And it's one of the reasons why I like film challenges, because these are problems that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for the time constraints. You know, I learned a lot of amazing lessons from this. If I was going somewhere where I had like full opportunity to scout and plan, I could have checked things like Wi-Fi speed at our production office location. I could have checked things like whether the printers are available. I wouldn't have been printing photos last minute. I wouldn't have been doing any of the things we were doing last minute because we would have had more time. That said, independent film productions usually don't have the luxury of massive amounts of prep time. So hopefully my sharing what this experience was like gives you all the opportunity to reflect on some ways that maybe you can best prepare for your projects. Maybe you can kind of preemptively understand things that could possibly go wrong and step in front of those problems to prevent them from happening. But you also have to know that even the best laid plans, I cannot stop flights from being canceled. I cannot stop printers from breaking. There are some things I can't control, no matter how much experience I have, how many movies I've produced. So yeah, that's the story of how we got the list made. And at the end of the day, every single person on that set helped make it happen. And I am so thankful for everybody. Oh, I forgot. There's a whole VFX shot where like the blood drips down her neck. That's VFX. Our VFX artist in Canada. So I was able to upload the files to him because they were just like PNGs, an image file. And it should have been as easy to download them. Nope. Could not download. Could not get them. And without that shot, it just didn't read the same. That moment in the film was really crucial to like the entire rhythm of the story. So be that as it may, once we were on the Wi-Fi, we were able to get the files from him as well. Thank you, Alex Hefner. So there you have it. We're right in the awareness campaign week, a little hopped up on coffee, and yeah, I hope this was useful to share. It's a little bearing my guts, but, I think if more of us kind of share what we run into and what we can do to prevent it, then it can just make things better for everybody going forward. That's my goal anyway. I hope you've enjoyed the film. If you haven't, now that it's spoiled, go watch it anyway. All right. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.
You've been listening to Filmmaking Actually with Koura Linda, Space Dream Productions podcast. Subscribe to us on any or all the podcast platforms. If you like what you hear, leave us 5-star ratings and positive reviews on iTunes. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. But the best thing you can do if you really like the show is tell a friend. Want to leave a comment or ask a question? Email at filmmakingactually@gmail.com. This is Spacey speaking, and remember,
Sometimes I wanna be a picture director. I'm trying to make the world
and we'll see you next time.